on the whole planet. And it is Tom Grody here. Time for 7 Minutes of Sunshine at 7:07. And Linda, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
It is so my pleasure. And what I love about you, Tom, is your positivity. And one of the things I say is surround yourself with positive people who are making a difference. So it's a joy to be counted among your friends, and it's a joy to be on 7 Minutes of Sunshine.
Well, everyone, you're in for a real treat today. Linda has been a tireless advocate and foot soldier, frankly, in our movement, and has been there for decades, really leading and marching and making things happen for all of us. And just to share a couple things about you, Linda, you graduated from OSU in 1969 with a speech and theater major and a minor in journalism, and you were in a sorority and all that good stuff. And boy, in 1969, of course, that was a crazy, tumultuous time, right?
Yes, it was. It was a time of revolution.
Yeah, well, and you were part of that revolution, and then you carried it on, and then you were with Columbus Recs and Parks for 30 years, and which is amazing, 3 decades. And then you volunteered and worked with Stonewall Columbus for decades, and really led off our Pride March and helped grow that from, gosh, a few thousand to thousands and thousands. And you were really front and center, literally, starting that parade each year and coordinating those volunteers, and then supporting your beautiful wife, Carla, as she was the executive director for Stonewall for over 12 years. And then you and Carla have been married for 20, or you've been together for 25 years, and you are legally married. And but you are just an icon in our community. We're so lucky to get to hear some of the things that make you tick, that drive you, that your values and your superpower. So I'm gonna just give you the floor, and we'd love to hear all that and whatever else you want to share.
Well, thank you. It has become our volunteerism is really it's a family thing, and we support each other in it. And I think I started volunteering for Stonewall, and Carl had volunteered previously. But I think the whole volunteerism thing too started for me when I was working for the Columbus Recreation and Parks Department, and I had a group called Park Playhouse. I taught theater, and I had these dynamic, smart kids, and I brought them together as a group. We named it Park Playhouse. They wore their shirts to school, and these artistic, smart kids had a community. And I started realizing how important that community support was. And then for 21 years, I was in the senior centers and director of senior centers. And the volunteers would be that World War II group. And they were fabulous volunteers and selfless. And I really could not have run those centers and had half the programming without their volunteerism. So I knew the value of it, and I knew I owed someone a lot of volunteer time, and that's kind of how that whole thing started. And Carl and I actually were sitting in Union, Old Union, and the gentleman that was Michael Reese was putting Pride together, and there had been, as there are in groups, there had been some upheaval. And the whole Pride committee had quit, and he had no one to do Pride. And so he came to us and he said, "Would you do Pride?" And I had been in parades, but I'd never organized a parade. And that was in 1997. And we said yes. And that's one thing I want to say. There's a moment, and I know, Tom, you've had this moment too. When you look around the room, because you've been pivotal in Equality Ohio, you were pivotal in saying we need a better community center for this community. But sometimes you're saying, like, is it me? Isn't there somebody else that can do it? No, no, that one day it is you. And that's when you say yes. And that's when you step forward and you say yes and you make change. Because right now, I think you mentioned yesterday the little piece I sent you, and I thought the one thing I love about 7 Minutes of Sunshine is that it is so positive in a time when we're being sometimes so negative with one another. And 7 Minutes of Sunshine is about uplifting and as that little piece said, peacemaking isn't about passivity, and neither is making change. And but I liked the ending of that because it is the arduous pursuit.
Mhm.
And you must be arduous, and sometimes you have to be tough, and sometimes you have to defend because people are trying to tear down. But
Mhm.
today we're talking about building up, and that's what I love about 7 Minutes of Sunshine. And so I guess we're going to talk about this.
Yeah, go
Was
ahead and
for
go
me.
ahead and share. If you want to just go around the circle and tell us about those values pretty quickly, and then your superpower, that would be great.
I will do that.
Yeah.
Well, inspire. I think that the inspiration is so important, and I found that as you see my little Golden Age Creative Arts event folder there, and my Park Playhouse kids there, and there are times when you inspire people to do what you're doing and to do better than what you're doing, and I think you see in them their talent. And actually with Carla, I was on the Stonewall board for 9 years, and they were going to close the center down. And they said, we're just going to close it down till we find someone. And having been in recreation and parks for 30 years, I know you don't close a program down. It can shut it down forever. You can't do that. And
Mm.
I talked her into, just for a short amount of time, taking on Stonewall, and that was for 12 years. But I could see that in her, that she had what we needed at that moment in time to push us forward. And I see that in you too. And I think that we need to inspire each other to do that. And as you said foot soldier, and I really feel like I am a foot soldier. Small movement can have big change. And a collaboration, look, if it's only your idea, why do you need other people? I mean, the whole thing is to bring people together and get great ideas together.
Mm.
And then you have something. Then you have a really great idea instead of just one idea. So I think collaboration is incredibly important. And kindness is so important in a world that can be so tough. And sometimes kindness is one word. I remember, I don't know, somewhere in my 30s, I was going through a really bad period. I took my clothes into the dry cleaner, and the lady was so kind to me, and it just helped me and uplifted me. So if all you can do is give a kind, positive, inspirational word to someone, do it. It means the world. And grace, I think grace is just a part of life. Grace is so important. It's the way you greet people. It's forgiveness, it's acceptance, it's making people feel
Mm.
at home and making them feel welcome. And I think that's so very important. So do
Yeah, and how about, so tell us about the superpower, Linda.
Well, I think it's perseverance. And as you look around my little pictures, you see me. I bought my first house in Victorian Village in 1977. And you see that photo of me taking on that gigantic old Victorian house. Thank God I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And, but, slowly you persevere. And the same with Pride. When we took on Pride, we did not know how to do Pride. And thank God it was really about 200 people. And I lined it up in 2 lines in 2 blocks. And then 20 years later, we have 2019 and the most fabulous pride and one of the biggest in the United States, but small steps got me there.
Yeah.
And so my story about perseverance, I had one of my grandmothers was quite petite, and she wasn't even probably 5 foot. And I went to her home, and my grandfather had built a sidewalk. And being a practical German guy, the sidewalk was also kind of a drain that came down the side, and she hated that sidewalk. And I arrived at her home, and the sidewalk was gone. I said, "Grandmother, what happened to the sidewalk?" She said, "I took it out." And I was kind of shocked because she's a tiny lady. I said, "You took it out?" She said, "Sure, honey." And I said, "Well, how did you do it?" And she said, "With a sledgehammer." I said, "With a sledgehammer?" I mean, I'm thinking the sledgehammer is bigger than she is. And she said, "Oh, honey, you just pick it up and you drop it. You pick it up and you drop it." And when I get overwhelmed, it's like, "Okay, Linda, one step at a time. You just pick it up and you drop it." And it's the foot soldier, and it's the little things we do. It doesn't have to be the big things. It can be the little things.
I love it. Just pick it up and drop it. Just pick it up and drop. Well, folks, you are looking at one of the very, very big reasons why Stonewall Columbus Pride is one of the biggest in the nation, and has gone from a handful of folks who wore bags over their heads because they were afraid of being found out and being fired from their jobs, to over 800,000 people gathering in downtown Columbus and marching up and down High Street. You are looking at that person right here today, history right here. This is a person who kept picking up the sledgehammer and dropping it over and over again. That's how it happens. And with her beautiful wife, Carla, just relentless, hard work, nose to the grindstone stuff is how this stuff happens. And I am just so honored that you shared a little bit. I know we only have 7 minutes, and we could take 7 hours, but your story, Linda, is so powerful. And just the fact that you just have kept at everything, and your real estate too, right? You just kept at it. You kept building. Now you got a little bit of real estate, don't you?
I do.
And
I bought the houses around me because they were so terrible. I thought if I wanted to see a flower or a tree, I had to buy what was around me, because it was rough down here in '76.
Well, it worked out pretty well for you. But that didn't just happen. That was a lot of hard work, and it's a good time to be in real estate. So that worked out well, but that's how things work. And so thank you again, Linda, for all of your service to our community. What you've done has impacted, this, thousands and thousands of lives. I mean, there's people who chose not to kill themselves because they were at that Pride Parade. There's people who have gone out and made huge differences in the world because they were inspired at that Pride Parade. And I know that all of the good works you do are even beyond that. So I just want to thank you. Thank you for all you've done. And thank you for sharing a little piece of you today with all of us.
Well, thank you for this moment of sunshine, because it's so important in a world that's negative to remember it's the small steps that matter. And thank you for all you've done, Tom. And you inspire me too.
Oh, thank you.
And that's why you surround oneself with people that are moving forward in a positive way, making positive change, and you're doing that. And thank you so much for 7 minutes of sunshine.
Well, let's keep doing it. There's so much more to do, and we'll just keep lifting up the sledgehammer and dropping it and lifting up. That was a great story. I'll never forget it.
It's so true.
Well, and remember, even when it's really damn cloudy out, the sun is always shining. And Linda, you know that we all of us are the sunshine, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Linda, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.